You have to deal with a lot going through the campaign. 2 months ago, there were the scandalous allegations of an affair with a lobbyist. Both your husband and the lobbyist came out and said there was no truth to it. You haven't spoken publicly about this, but what was your first reaction when you heard about the story breaking?
I knew the truth. I was angry at the newspaper, of course.
What was the first thing you said to your husband?
I love you. I know this isn't true.
What did he say to you?
Same thing.
That was Cindy McCain talking openly about the true love her and Senator McCain share. And for the first time, she addressed the New York Times story that alleged that her husband had had an affair with lobbyist Vicky Eisman. We continue now with our panel. Julia, I'm going to tell you something. That was a vicious, horrible, that was worse than you'd read in the Inquirer, for crying out loud. And you notice they haven't brought it up since.
Right, and the answer is on Access Hollywood with his wife. You know, it turned out to be not much more than a chink in the armor, and he handled it. I mean, he handled it beautifully. Yeah. And I can't say anything bad about Cindy McCain. I mean, she's the perfect political wife. She's beautiful. She looks like Miss America. She knows a lot of rich people. She's standing by her husband. She believes what he says. He's convinced me. He's convinced a lot of America that it's absolutely not true. And
yeah, I think knowing
actually,
a lot of rich people is important in life, period. No, I'm teasing. But Pete, I want to go back to this. I think this is going to be very damaging to Barack Obama's campaign, and I want to dissect it with you because I know you've got this great mind of yours, and I want to get your thoughts on this. But when he said that they get bitter, they cling to their guns, or they cling to religion, or antipathy toward people who aren't like them, or anti-immigrant sentiment, you know, as a way to explain away their frustrations. It tells me this is not the America I know, Pete. The American people are not bitter. The people of Pennsylvania are not bitter. It seems like he doesn't understand the American people.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's interesting if you examine the rhetoric of Obama, and he's an eloquent man, but the portrait of America that he paints is unremittingly bleak. So that's one point. The other thing is it really comes across in a very arrogant way, and I think that is potentially an Achilles heel for Obama.
I wasn't talking
He's
about
speaking
about rural Pennsylvania. I want to get back to the McCain thing for an issue, and for a moment. And Amanda. Look, obviously, the alleged allegations of an affair, I don't think anybody really cared about that, and I think they did handle it very well. But what the media really missed with the real story was about the lobbyist. That John McCain has lobbyists working on in his office, running his campaign.
Working on the bus.
Riding on the so-called Straight Talk Express, which has gone through a few curves on the road lately. And that's the real story. And he's spending time with this woman, probably not romantically, but that she is a lobbyist, and that's who he's hanging out with. I mean, that's the story, Amanda. That's the real issue here.
All right, I think the only real story that came out of the New York Times piece that it was largely unsourced and it was seen as a hit piece that was completely unsubstantiated. And I think it's good that Cindy McCain's talking about it. It's pretty clear that
you're ignoring
John
the
McCain
lobbyist
and Cindy
issue. That's the real issue about John McCain, Amanda. You don't want to talk about that part of the story.
I'm not ignoring it.
No.
Good point.
If you want to talk about the politics of this, what they're trying to do right now is probably clear the air on these issues. Last week, McCain admitted that he had a temper problem. Right now, Cindy McCain is very openly talking about the affair, her past addiction of painkillers. And so if you want to talk about the story, that's the story to talk about.
I'm not interested in painkillers. I'm not interested in allegations of an affair. I'm interested in real issues and whether there's lobbyist connections. And this is the guy at the Straight Talk Express, Julia, the person who wanted campaign finance reform and has all these associations. That is the real issue about John McCain.
I totally agree with you. I mean, and I agree with Amanda that the story was a blip, but the real story here is his relationship with lobbyists. That they're, you know, his primary campaign, one of his primary campaign advisors was on the Straight Talk Express, actually still working with his clients, lobbying. I mean, it's kind of hypocritical.
I really think there's a bad issue being confused here. I mean, this is probably one of the cleanest, and I'm not a defender of John McCain, but this is one of the cleanest guys running right now when it comes to spending and pork. I mean, the one thing you can applaud McCain on right now is that he's very much against, you know, reducing the corruption in Washington. I mean, he did go after Abramoff at the time, so I mean, I think you should give him some credit for that kind of stuff.
When we get into the general election, the real issue will be the flip-flops of John McCain, the real issues. Is it really the Straight Talk Express? Why did he change on immigration? Why did he change on the border issue? Why did he change on tax cuts? And why did he change on torture? These are the issues. I've got about 10 seconds for you to respond.
Look, in a character contest, John McCain's not going to lose it, and a lot of the facts that you said just aren't true. He didn't flip on torture. The thing to keep in mind is the big story today is the Obama story, and when you combine that with Wright and the other ones, it's not going to go away.
You want to combine them, but look, we got to run. We thank you all very much for being with us. Coming up, the latest polls, how many Democrats think Senator Obama will win the nomination.